Alright, welcome to another video on building an e-commerce with Vue for user interface, Nuxt to streamline the web development, Strapi to easily manage our content, GraphQL to improve the optimizations, perceived load time, as well as other features that it provides us, Docker to containerize our applications, and Stripe to integrate payment solutions and deploy that on EC2 instance. Okay, so the goal of this is to see how feasible, fast, scalable, and maintainable is to do that with all of the previous technology. And the way of doing that is by first design, where this is where I conduct a research to identify which UI component library might be feasible to use, and with that, then using ViewStick is the way to go, because it allows us to develop on different end device like laptop, desktop, and mobile. And also I looked at it also comes with some, for example, especially if you want to integrate Strapi and Stripe with Nuxt, it comes with a Nuxt 3 model to integrate Strapi, again, to manage our content much more easily. In Stripe, we're going to rely on a car integrations, and there is no model, there is no Nuxt 3 model on that. So the first things, it was building the backend. This is part of the build step, okay, part of the methodology, the build step. So on the backend, yes, we set up Strapi. I also define is a common features or a common data structures for an e-commerce, like product, order, order list, and reviews. And then understand what Strapi is after all, okay? Which it was originally designed to bootstrap or to help bootstrap API, but then it grew into this open source headless CMS that allows developers to choose whatever favorite tools they want to use or framework, while manage the content and distribute much more easy, so allowing editors to do that through their admin panel. Since Strapi is a plugin system, and most of these software applications are plugin systems, which in this case you can easily extend admin feature as well as their API. And also Strapi comes with a user, or it comes with a built-in user assistance to manage in detail what admins and then users can have access to or have access to. Okay, but in other words, that's what it does, Strapi. Okay, so it comes with this built-in user systems to manage in detail what admin and end user have access to. So then I populate that with mock data, and because we want to use GraphQL in our Strapi app, I use a plugin for that, which is the GraphQL plugin that comes with an Apollo server. And Apollo is an implementation of the GraphQL, it's an implementation of the GraphQL specification, that it comes with an Apollo client, a server, and some of that advanced features. And the whole idea of this is to connect the data graph layer to the cloud, right? So act as this data graph layer to connect mother web applications with the cloud. And because this is a GraphQL plugin, it also comes with something called shadow crew. So it automatically generates type definitions, queries, mutations, and resolvers based on the model you define on the admin panel. So that's great, because now then once I did that, okay, so there is no need to define or to install an Apollo server or a standalone Apollo server. By default, we just have that using the GraphQL plugin. And then I go to the front end. And because we choose Nuxt to streamline the development process, or the development, the web development, uh, the whole idea of Nuxt is to improve the developer experience when building modern web applications. And the way to do that is to deliver and optimize user experience with several optimization techniques like tree shaking, code splitting, link prefetching, among others, as well as several rendering strategies like server-side rendering, static site generator, single-page applications, incremental static regeneration, stale while revalidating, CEO, and Web Vitals. So when we talk about Web Vitals, okay, here from Google, the Web Vitals from Google, here, okay. So when we talk about Web Vitals, we talk about is the LCP, the FID, and the CLS. Okay, large contentful paint, first input delay, and cumulative layout shift. So just to understand this concept, because again, this is part of the Nuxt introduction, and how they using is the conventions made by the Google developers, all right, or for the web developers from Google, all right. So largest contentful pane, it measures loading performance, okay. To improve good user experience, LCP should occur within 2.5 seconds, or when the page first start loading. First input delay measures interactivity. To provide a good user experience, page should have a FID of 100 milliseconds or less. Cumulative layout shift measure visual stability. To provide a good user experience, page should maintain a cumulative layout shift of 0.1 or less. For each of the above metrics, to ensure you're hitting the recommended target for most of the users, a good threshold to measure is that 75 percentile of page load segment across mobile and desktop device. So tools that assess core Web Vitals compliance should consider a page passing if it is meet the recommended target at 75 percentile for all of the above three metrics. So, in other words, LCP measure loading performance, largest contentful pane, FID measures interactivity, first input delay, and CLS measures visual stability, cumulative layout shift. There's a lot of acronym here, but the whole point of this is to understand part of the web, the core Web Vitals. Okay, the core Web Vitals, which are focused and reflects a real-world experience of a critical user-centric outcome. So the metric that makes up Cover Web Vitals will evolve over time. Exactly. Evolving web. Evolving Web Vitals. Web Vitals and Core Web Vitals represent the best available signals developer has to measure quality of experience across the web. But these signals are not perfect of future improvement, or additions should be expected. The core web vitals are relevant to all web pages and feature across the relevant Google tools. Changes to those metrics will have wide-reaching impact, such as developers should expect the definition and threshold of the core web vitals to be stable and update to have prior notice and a predicament annual cadence. The other web vitals are often context or tool specific and may be more experimental than the core web vitals. As such, their definition and threshold may change with greater frequency. But again, understanding this web vital, which is tools and metrics for web developers to measure the impact on real users, focus on user-centric outcomes, and these metrics will evolve over time, which is not fixed, okay? But at this moment, the current set for 2020 focus on three aspects of the user experience: loading, interactivity, and visual stability. Okay. So this is part of the web core or the core web vitals, okay? So the whole idea is to measure real world experience Each core web vital represents a distinct facet of the user experience. Okay. So each core web vitals represent. So the core web vitals represent a distinct facet, represent a distinct phase of the user experience, and reflects the real is measurable in the field, and reflect the real world experience of a critical user-centric outcome. But in other words, so the core web vitals represent distinct phase of the user experience in real world web apps. So this set of metrics, which will evolve in time, but focus on three aspects in 2020: the loading, interactivity, and visual stability. Okay, great, cool. So largest content pane measure is the loading performance. The largest contentful pane, LCP, good, need improvement, poor. Okay. The largest contentful pane measure loading performance, and to provide a good user experience, LCP should occur within 2.5 seconds of when the page first starts loading. Then you have is the FID, first input delay, which measure interactivity. And to provide good user experience, the page should have a first input delay of 100 milliseconds or less. Okay. First input delay. And CLS, which is cumulative layout shift, measure visual stability. To provide a good user experience, page should maintain a cumulative layout shift CLS of 0.1 or less. So for each of above metrics, to ensure you're hitting the recommended target, for most users, a good threshold to measure is the 75 percentile of the page load segment across mobile and desktop. So 75 percentile of the page load segment across mobile and desktop is a recommended target for most users. And we have tools to measure and report core web vitals here. So the Chrome user report. use this page speed insight and Core Web Vitals, Chrome User Experience Report, page speed insights, Search Console. The data provided by Chrome User Experience Report offer a quick way to assess the performance of sites. But again, is this, right? With the Web Vital library, measuring each metric is as simple as calling a single function. With Web Vitals, send to analytic, body user stringify metric, use navigator.sendBeacon if available, falling back to fetch. Fetch or fetch analytics. Keep a light true. Send to analytics. Once you have configured your site to use Web Vitals library to measure and send your Core Web Vitals data to analytic endpoint, the next step is to aggregate and report on that data to see if your page are meeting the recommended threshold for at least 75% of the page visit. For at least 75% of the page visit. Well, some analytic provider has built-in support with Core Web Vital metrics. So you can use this through a package or to collect anonymized real user measurement like this. Performance page insight. Page speed insight like this. Page speed insight. Search console. Core Web Vitals report. And Search console. Measuring Web Vitals using RUM data. Okay, but this is tools that we can rely on that, you know? These are tools that we can rely on this. Exact lab data and field data. So Lighthouse is a lab tool that provides specific opportunity for improving page performance. Lighthouse user flow also allows developers to script interaction flow for performance testing beyond page startup. Because Lighthouse is a lab tool and first input delay is a field metric, it is report total blocking time instead. It report total blocking time instead. And it's not a substitute for field data. Exactly. Step 1, evaluate website health and identify opportunities for improvement. Room field data, Search Console, and page speed insight. Yeah, but in that case, we need to use this page page speed insight. We will need to use page speed insight for that. So, the point of this, okay, is by looking at what is the main goal of Nuxt, respect with the user, which is improving the or delivering optimized user experience by using a set of optimization techniques like code splitting, tree shaking, link prefetching, several rendering strategies like server-side rendering, client-side rendering, static site generators, incremental static regeneration or RSR, state while revalidating, CEO, and Web Vitals, where this Web Vitals, okay. So the Web Vitals, okay. So the Web Vitals are metrics to developers that represent different phases of the user experience that is measurable and reflect how the real users experience your app, or it reflect how users in real world experience your app. Okay, so that is the whole point of this core Web Vitals. The Web Vitals, after all, SEO and Web Vitals, a set of metrics that represent different facet of user no different different facet of the user experience, measurable of the user experience, is measurable in the field. Exactly, is measurable in the field. Okay, is measurable in the field and reflect how user and reflect the real world experience. Okay, and reflects the real world experience and it reflects the real world experience of a critical user-centric outcome and reflect the real world experience and reflects the real world experience is or so the current set the current set that will evolve in time. Okay, the current set that will evolve in time for 2020 what the so the current set that will evolve in 2020 for the current set that will evolve in time for 2020 focus in three main aspects. Where it is? Exactly. So focus in three main aspects. So focus on three aspects. Focus on three aspects. Come on. What the fuck? Focus on three aspects of the user experience. Loading. Okay, so loading the large contentful pane in come on. So loading, okay, interactivity, okay, with first input delay, and visual stability. Cumulative layout shift. So to ensure you're hitting the recommended target, okay, which is this. So to ensure we are hitting the recommended, to ensure we're hitting the recommended target for most users. So to ensure you're hitting the recommended target for most of your users, a good threshold to measure, or a good threshold to measure is 75%, 75 percentile. It's a 75 percentile of page load segment across mobile. 75% percentile of page load segmented across mobile and desktop device. Segmented across mobile and desktops devices. So tools what we can use is page speed insight. So tools to use for in the field data, for in the field data, exactly, for in the field data and for lab data, Lighthouse. Okay. Lighthouse. Which is this? All right. Okay. Good. Good. So that'll be all for this video. Take care. Bye bye.